Russians started using old Ukrainian supply routes in the Serebryanski forest to move troops for their next move in Lyman. However, as Ukrainians held those positions for months, their drone operators knew exactly where to strike, tracking all their movements and unleashing devastating fire on the enemy front line and forces moving into position. Euromaidan Press media outlet reports. Recall, Ukrainians withdrew in one go from the Serebryansky forest, as Russians had taken their handful of viable logistics routes through the trees under fire control with drones. However, this gave Ukrainians the brilliant idea and opportunity to turn the tables around on the Russians, as they knew exactly which paths were viable and where the Russians would be moving. The lack of defensive infrastructure compounds Russia's problems, as Ukrainians had not dug new trenches as they withdrew in one go, leaving Russians with large areas without dugouts, tunnels, or proper fortifications. This left even less space for Russians to store supplies and equipment, which were now all concentrated on several larger routes through the forest. Russian troops moving in now must make do with foxholes and improvised shelters, which offer little protection against artillery and none against drones attacking from above. After taking one bigger trench fortification at the end of the forest across the village, Russian commanders hoped to use it to advance more easily, Euromaidan Press says. On the contrary, this has made their attempts even more predictable than they already were, with every step forward turned into a death march for their assault groups. Ukrainian troops report that Russian commanders keep sending small groups into Yampil, but almost none survive. Ukrainian drone surveillance monitors every movement, destroying infiltrators before they gather strength, which buys critical time for the defense of the settlement. Ukrainian fighters highlight that without the drones, their overstretched defenses would be under far greater pressure. Instead, Yampil remains under Ukrainian control, with Russian assaults collapsing before they can establish any foothold. Overall, by abandoning the forest in one go, instead of in a drawn-out battle, while on the back foot, the Ukrainians forced Russia into using the very routes that once threatened them, turning what was once a liability into an advantage. Euromaidan Press says, now they have effectively become kill zones for Ukrainian surveillance and firepower, with Russian assault groups being shredded by drones before they can mass. The Serebryansky forest has turned into a trap and is currently far from being Russia's staging ground for deeper breakthroughs. Meanwhile, the settlement of Yampil is being held firm by Ukrainians and remains a stronghold that makes every Russian step a costly one.
Plumes of smoke were seen over the Gaza Strip from Israel on Wednesday, as officials met in Egypt for a third day of talks aimed at ending the fighting. According to Associated Press, peace talks between Israel and Hamas resumed at the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh on Wednesday, the day after the two-year anniversary of the militant group's surprise attack on Israel that started the war that has killed tens of thousands of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Khalil al-Hayya, a senior Hamas official, told Egypt's Kahira TV on Tuesday that Hamas wanted guarantees of a lasting ceasefire as part of any deal to return the remaining 48 hostages, around 20 of them believed by Israel to be alive. It appeared to be his first public appearance since an Israeli strike targeting him and other top Hamas leaders in Qatar last month killed 6 people, including his son and office manager. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has accepted Trump's plan, which calls for the immediate release of the hostages. The plan also calls for Gaza to be placed under international governance and for Hamas to be disarmed, elements the militants have yet to accept. Netanyahu's office said Tuesday that Israel was cautiously optimistic, framing the talks as technical negotiations over a plan that both sides already had approved. The plan has received widespread international backing, and Trump told reporters Monday that he thought there was a really good chance of a lasting deal. In a sign the talks were gaining momentum, Qatar said its prime minister and top diplomat, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, would travel to Egypt on Wednesday to join the negotiations. Trump's Mideast envoy Steve Witkoff and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, as well as top Netanyahu advisor Ron Dermer, are also expected to join the talks then. The war has already killed over 67,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza's health ministry, part of the Hamas-run government, which does not say how many were civilians or combatants.
Thank you.